I'm going to give you some descriptors, some sentences. I don't know if you've seen these before, but you just tell me the first name that comes to mind. Maybe a tiny little story with it as well, we'll see. First question is, funniest person in the locker room. Any locker room.
I'd have to put that Booker T's commentary at the Monitor, which legitimately got him a commentary job.
Oh, did it?
One of the funniest things of commentating. This guy over here, look at it. You just listen to NXT or watch it. That's Booker T kind of commentating at the Monitor, but he's a very funny guy when it comes to that.
I know you're married, but the most beautiful woman, either wrestler or valet or whatever, in real life instead of on TV.
I would have to say Victoria would probably be the one person who, and you factor in age too, that's still taking care of herself and still a beautiful girl.
Yeah. The one I always ask, smelliest wrestler.
Smelliest wrestler. Oh man, probably Balls Mahoney.
Yeah, you'd be stunned how often that name comes up.
Because Balls, what you saw him wearing in the ring is what he wore at the gym because he worked out, wore at the rental car place, which he rented cars with no driver's license, which was amazing. Danny Doring and I watched that in amazement. Whether he's outside reading the book or anything like that, that's the way Balls was Captain Caveman. But much like Mike Sharp, that's what you want in the business. 24/7 Balls Mahoney.
Not that many people have a name for this, but the biggest stooge for the dirt sheets. Who would call up Meltzer or Keller or whoever?
In history?
Maybe somebody you know, but you might want to plead the fifth.
Paul Heyman.
Okay, we get that name quite a lot. Most in trouble with The Office. Let's say WWE. Who was most in trouble with WWE The Office? Were you?
Well, I would just sometimes get in trouble because I would make calls out there to put guys over. I would take their finish, but if we could go home a couple minutes early and save the main event sometime, if it took 6 minutes to do a completely predictable finish with me losing, why would I be out there 10 minutes? And I would say I was given the main event, we gave you a couple extra minutes and the heat would pass. That's a worker, though. Why would I take extra bumps for 2 minutes and shorten my career when it doesn't? Everybody's like, we just came back from the Marine trailer. Stevie Richards in the ring. This is a toss-up. Who's going to win this one?
I just had Barry Horowitz on, and he had the exact opposite.
Great guy.
Yeah, he was great to interview as well, and he had the exact opposite but same answer. It's like, because he'd always go a bit too long. It's like, hey, the match needed 15 minutes, not 13. And it was a great match, the people told us, so I always like that. The strangest sight you ever witnessed at the Travelodge?
Not too many, because I didn't partake in any of that stuff. I usually played video games, did the same thing I did throughout my whole life. We talked about it before we went on the air. So a lot of stuff there were I think there was a couple times that they were stretchering out a dead body, more than once. There was murder or somebody OD'd and died. And the first thing you think of as a wrestler when they're wheeling out a stretcher with the body bag is is that one of us?
Sandman.
No, he's been dead for 20 years. He keeps going.
Clumsiest wrestler you ever wrestled?
Clumsiest?
Yeah, clumsiest.
Heidenreich.
That's a name we don't get very often. Funniest sign.
He only killed me for 4 weeks. He never got to touch anybody. Well, he got to touch Michael Cole in the back a little bit, literally.
Yeah, that was the kind of. Talk about lawsuits. That was the kind of grievous touching that shouldn't be on TV.
That was like the Vince McMahon don't give an F days of stuff. Even I was like, oh God, man, I'm so glad I'm not on TV now.
What if Michael Cole was signed an NDA for that? The funniest sign you ever saw in the crowd?
Oh my God. I can't remember. It's been so long. Well, in ECW, that the Steve F. Sheep thing, and then they were beach bowling a sheep across the arena. Just started saying in the beginning of my heel thing when I wasn't quite a heel and wasn't pushed, the fans just made up chants, and it was Steve F. Sheep, Steve F. Sheep. And they actually would have sheep that they would throw a blow up sheep in the ring while I wrestled. That was kind of the funniest thing, at least personally.
With ECW, what's the weirdest weapon that someone handed you from the crowd? Because you were there at the beginning days when they actually, would bring their own weapons. What's the weirdest one?
They would never hand me anything because I was a heel. I get hit. Probably the strangest thing was a Nintendo. And the second strangest and the hardcore thing was when John was bringing the big ass horns out in the saddle, and he tied me up like a calf and everything in the ring. It was kind of cool. But man, I took the fallaway slam. It didn't look close, but it was close enough to where I was like, wow, I almost landed on the horns. That wasn't fun.
Jeez. What else am I going to ask you? The most memorable thing that you saw happen on an aeroplane?
I was on the plane ride from hell.
I didn't even consider that answer. Any particular stories that because we've heard so many, there's been a dark side of the ring, but any that you saw personally?
I was right there at the exit row when Brock and Kurt were banging against the door. I was right there. Earlier in that tour, I heard Vince trying to shoot on Kurt in first class. I was there for the serenading from Gold Dust to Terry. We were up for that. But I wasn't there for I did not witness any of the main part of the plane ride from hell. I didn't witness that because that would have crossed a Rubicon that I couldn't witness that without stopping it, if you know what I mean. The accused assault or harassment. I wouldn't have let that, even with my stage or my status in the company. It just goes beyond like keeping your mouth shut for wrestling. That goes beyond it. I didn't witness that, thank God.
Was that the worst flight you were ever on?
No, it wasn't, because it was just like things going on, but turbulence, and I'm afraid to fly. So to me, those are character. Yeah, I'm terrified to fly.
I was going to say, you really picked the wrong sort of like vocation.
I'm afraid of a lot of large crowds too. So there you go. But it was, why it was the worst flight in a way?
Go on.
Because I was so appreciative that they took care of us on the flight with travel accommodations, charters. It was so nice. And I knew it was coming to an end. I knew it was over after that flight. That's why it was very much a terrible flight to me, because it's almost like you couldn't enjoy it because you knew you were going back to the coach and all that stuff. And for flights like that, it was good. The boys ruin everything.
I know this isn't for the Dutch podcast, but we've done a video quite recently on the original plane ride from hell, which was in like 95, 96. And the entire this is one where Savio Vega cut Razor Ramon's ponytail, and a load of other things happened on it. And then whatever flight carrier just said, we are not taking you to Germany. They dropped him off in England and just said, you're going to have to find your own way. We will not carry you anymore. So that was the original one where the boys just ruined it.
Well, at least we were coming home. At least I could hop in a rental car or go to TV or whatever. Wow, that's crazy.
I'll ask you a couple more, and then I'm going to go for a couple more subjects, and then I'll thank you for your time because I know you've got an appointment. No, I'm going to leave that one. Most talented wrestler you ever worked with?
Thankfully, that's a tough one. There's a lot of talented people. That's part of the reason why I want to do this too, because I really want to demonstrate the nuances of ring positioning, fundamentals, even ergonomics, and then psychology, of course. There's so many like talented workers. I tend to think guys like Val Venis and Kane and guys that are big jack guys, but are super light and can move. Those guys are really good. I would say even to a degree, you look at Balls Mahoney, that they're talented, because the look of a Balls Mahoney, he shouldn't be able to do what he's able to do. Raven's super talented because his psychology will allow him to show 100% of his strengths and hide almost 0% unless he chooses to show his weakness. There's so many guys. Terry Taylor was a talented worker to some extent when I seen him in breakups. Even, we still talk about, the boys talk about when Terry took a punch in TNA from Dreamer, the way he sold it was so realistic, and everybody else was doing their little like egg. As Kevin Nash says, egg beaters. Kevin Nash, I've been in the ring with Kevin Nash, a guy that could literally swallow me up and kill me if he wanted to, and was like just touch, just light. Those are the guys I consider to be very, very talented workers outside of the norm of what you would think. I think the people that have every reason to be clumsy and trip over their own feet and hurt people, when those guys are even smoother than guys my size, that's talent.